It's my favorite time of the format. It's pre-release tier list time. This is where we make an educated guess on what'll be good based on what's doing well in Japan, playtesting from the previous format, and new cards coming in. So if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to drop a like and a comment below. Where did I rank your favorite deck? Did I miss your favorite deck? What do you think the format will look like? If you want to make a tier list of your own, I'll put that in the description. And feel free to share it with me over on Twitter. I love seeing people's tier lists. I don't usually get them. And I like seeing, how right or wrong we were when the format developed. So moving on, we're going to take a quick look at my criteria for tier lists. So S tier, we're going to start with the best of the best. This is usually 1-2 decks max, in my opinion, that are just clear cuts above the rest. They might be higher play rates. They might just have 1 or 2 things they do really well and no deck can contend. A good example of this one last format was Gardevoir. It just performed really well. It had a really good matchup. It just kept winning and doing a lot of things. You saw a lot of mirror matches. It's not my favorite deck to play, but it was extremely powerful and you either had to play it or play something that beat it. Tier 1, this is the remainder of somebody's top 10. You see the weekly top 10s or the bi-weekly top 10s people put out there. This is pretty much that tier. It can change slightly, but usually these decks are known commodities. You might see 1 or 2 kind of shift up and down. Tier 1.5, this is meta dependent. If you're going to see a lot more of deck A, then your deck does better. If you're seeing a lot less of it and maybe seeing more of a deck that you don't want to see, for example, then you're going to be closer to 2, but you're so meta dependent that you just kind of get stuck in the middle here. Or you're on the cusp of the top 10 decks and you just can't quite crack in. So I always put those in there. They're kind of go with the flow decks. Tier 2, this is middle of the pack. Deck's not bad, deck's not good. You can win games. The pilot usually carries here. You usually have a consistency issue, a damage issue. There's something missing, maybe some tech we haven't, engineered yet. It really depends, but tier 2 is like, it is a meta deck to some degree, but it is a low meta deck. Okay, enough rambling there. Almost meta. This is your rogues. This is your one piece away. This is the deck that you pick up and maybe a 4-0 at a league challenge or something. And then you go to League Cup and you do well, and then you take it to a regional and you get absolutely bodied. Or if the meta's gone an entirely different way and you sneak under the radar. This is something that it's on here mostly to say, okay, it's not bad, but you definitely know it's not a regular meta contender. And then bad, this may as well be the Cinderace tier. Going forward, I might just rename this bad Cinderace tier. If you know, you know. Is pet deck. This deck is your favorite Pokemon. This deck is little Timmy's favorite Pokemon, and you're trying to make it work. But realistically, you're not going to be able to make it work unless it gets some massive buffs because it's just a flawed card and what they're trying to ask you is too much to repeat. Easy example here from the chart. I'm going to say that Porygon. I think this one's bad. Just asks too much. Very specific. It does more damage based on the number of Team Rocket supporters in the discard pile. You don't want to clog your deck up with supporters. It gets kind of awkward. An example of an almost meta deck, we'll say Dipplin. I see it pop up here and there. If dark Pokemon weak to grass are always good, then Dipplin can kind of sneak in and cheese some prizes, and Thwackey lets you search cards. I've seen it pop up placements over in City Leagues. Better in best of 1, horrible in best of 3. Once your opponent knows what you're doing, you're kind of cooked. An example of a tier 2 deck because it is flawed or it doesn't hit hard enough. My favorite, Cynthia's Garchomp. Brand new card out of the set. 100 damage for 1 and 260 damage for 2, but you discard all the energy. Cynthia is just missing something, whether it's search, whether it's more reliable acceleration, you name it. I do imagine we'll get something down the line, and there is some stuff coming with the mega sets that should help this, but right now it's not where it needs to be. Example of tier 1.5. I do like this one. Where are we going here? Tier 1.5. I say Joltik. So Joltik box is one of those ones where you set up with your Jolting charge, you set up 4 energy, and then every turn after that you're trying to follow up with Crispin and Prime Catcher or Boss's Orders and just take 2s before your opponent can get you. So you see Gardevoir, you don't mind that for the most part, or Dragapult, or something that starts slow, and then you snowball faster than they can, and then they just can't really respond in time. Tier 1 deck, off the bat, I'm going to just go out of my way and say Raging Bolt. So I did cover a video on the channel. Raging Bolt doesn't really lose much. There's a new stadium coming. That's really it. You just play more stadium outs. Oh no. Or maybe you cut your owls back to 2-2. Oh no. And then just go from there. Raging Bolt doesn't lose anything. Bellowing Thunder still hits in multiples of 70, and you still hit really, really hard. Teal Mask is good because of all those Pokemon weak to grass that I just mentioned. And what else is there to say? It's still a good deck. Is there an S tier this format? I don't believe so. I think there's a few new additions that kind of bump anything that was in S tier down a notch. And the decks that I'm just going to show right off the bat. The decks that I think that are A tier or tier 1 would be Gardevoir, Raging Bolt. What is the best one? Will Dragapult have Yes, it will. I'm going to say Dragapult Dusknoir because the pilot can definitely do some dirty things. And there is one more main one off the bat. Grimmsnarl, there you are. So that's a new addition. So Raging Bolt, Gardevoir, Dragapult Dusknoir, they're pretty much consistent commodities. We know what they do. Grimmsnarl came out in the EX battle decks along with Metagross. We'll talk about them in a second. Metagross is bad. It accelerates one Psychic, one Metal to your Psychic and Metal Pokemon. So for Psychic Pokemon, why not just play Gardevoir? For Metal Pokemon, what do you really want to play? And this set gave it a lot of fire support, so then you're just asking yourself why. Back to Grimmsnarl. Grimmsnarl is one of the decks that I picked up and played. Absolutely love it. Shadow Bullet for 180 damage and 30 to the bench. There is a new bench protection Pokemon, so that's not overly relevant. Punk Up allows you to accelerate 5 energy from the deck to your Marnie's Pokemon, but it's its interactions with Munkidori, its interactions with Froslass, Devolution, TM Devolution. Like, there's a lot going on, and I find that pairing all of its little tricks in the trade with it being dark type, it's just a very strong deck that punishes the evolving deck, and the damage racks up very quickly for, you know, the support Pokemon. Like, I've had 4 and 5 prize turns where you take out all the support Pokemon. You don't actually declare an attack, or maybe you declare one attack and you still end up winning. I think this one will be poised to do well in best of 3, even more so. Kind of like Dragapult. You'll enjoy seeing Dragapult. You'll enjoy seeing Gardevoir. Raging Bolt's a little iffy, but it's still manageable. Most of my top one. Now we're going to kind of bounce around to some other stuff. Goldingo here, 1.5. This will be all the variants. I think the fire support is going to kind of bump it down a little bit. So this is Goldingo with Dragapult, or Goldingo with Zoroark, or Goldingo, God knows. Anything else that you can imagine. Goldingo is a good support Pokemon. It might even see play in decks that normally played Noctowl. Just because it draws cards, right? You can Cypher Maniac, draw cards, that kind of thing. It's not shut off by anything for the time being. Iron Thorns is dead. Away. So 1.5 is where I like it. If the fire is not performing well, then Goldingo is going to be a good card to play. If fire is actually doing well, which would surprise me, then it's going to be more of a tier 2. Dragapult Charizard, this one here is very, very clunky. But again, you like seeing this one. This one feels pretty 50-50, and the sheer bulk of your Charizard and Dragapult, if you get out of the early stages, you do seem to perform well into the Dragapult Dusknoir. It depends, right? Like, you have to get online. That's the hardest thing of the deck, and I've played almost 100 games with it. I don't think it loses much. I think it'll keep revamping. Do you have more space by cutting the Rabsca or cutting any bench protection for the new Shaman? Probably. Straight Dragapult, though, is definitely a tier 1. Beats on other Dragapult variants very, very well because it trades off the jank for consistency, and then it just gets into the game. But you need those tricks to deal with Gardevoir. Dragapult Pidgeot, put this one in here. I'm going to put it as a 1.5 because, again, you got to deal with that tower, and a Stamp or an Iono or anything like that late could be problematic. But this one does play well into Gardevoir. I like that one too. So this one doesn't, but this one plays into the field. This one plays really well into Gardevoir. This one plays well into Gardevoir. Let's see. Ethan's Typhlosion is one that I'm a believer on. It is a 1-prize Pokemon. It does 40 plus 60 for each of the Ethan's adventure cards in your discard pile. So it's retooling of the Leon's Charizard from Vivid Voltage. It's a lot easier to set up. I've seen it paired with Dragapult. I've seen it paired with Goldingo. I've seen it paired with Zoroark. I've seen it paired with a handful of different things. It is a 1-prize Pokemon that just goes. You can figure out a way to consistently get it going, then you shouldn't have any problem. Because Dracloak would give you a 1-prize, you know, support engine. I'm sure somebody will try to really make this work, and it'll be sitting at the cusp of like your 11 to 15 rank for most decks played on the Play Limitless. It is a very good deck. 280's nothing to scoff at. There's a couple Victinis where you can bump your numbers up. All right, who do we got next? So I am putting Zoroark. I'm not a believer. Best tricks in the bag were Darmanitan, but a lot of decks will be playing the new Shaman, which is a bench barrier protection reprint to avoid these Pokemon. Wellspring Ogerpon. So I think you're going to fall down to tier 2. It needs to reinvent itself. Maybe it plays with some more dark Pokemon, or it just becomes a support engine like it should have been. Time will tell. I'm putting Walls in bad. I don't care how you shape your walls. If anybody loses to wall decks, it was a flaw in your deck building, not actually a matchup guide. So if you build your decks competently, then you shouldn't be losing to this deck. Just saying. You should have a couple layers to your deck, not just the one-trick ponies. I'm going to put Okidogi as almost meta. No, I like this one as tier 2. So Okidogi EX, if you're unfamiliar with it, it does 130 damage for 3. There's a couple support Pokemon in Janine accelerates Dark Energy. You can play Crispin if you want. So on, but basically it does 130 if it's poisoned, which you use through Janine or you through the Petron EX. It does an extra 130, so that's 260 off the bat. That's getting your Raging Bolts. That's hitting all your Dark Weak Pokemon. There's Binding Moki, a tool and format that gives you an extra 40, so that is 300. Most things will be gone at 300. If you need to get any bigger than that, you can play, what is it, Gravity Mountain? Anyway, I've been seeing it around. It is the middle of the pack deck. It is good. I'm going to build it myself because I want to play it. I just love that Pokemon and the poison package. I'm glad people are actually getting a way to make this deck function. Not that good. It's just in the middle. You can win games, but don't expect to win as many as you should. Almost meta. I'm putting Slack in here. This is like my believers tier or very situational. Like this is basically, we're going to rename this Rogue right now. Almost meta. So Rogue. They're not bad. They just don't see enough play for you to be like, oh my god, like they're going to be, you know, just broken decks. No, they're there. They exist in like 1% or less capacity. Slacking's going to use the new Watchtower so then it can spam the 280 damage every turn. Saraluge, same thing. I'm putting you down as Rogue. I'm seeing less and less of you by the day. Fire type, one trick pony, a lot of energy in the deck. You don't have many tricks. I'm putting Mewtwo in bad. This is Reshiram and Zekrom GX all over. So for 3 energy, it does 160, and then you can discard 2 energy from your benched Pokemon, and it does up to 280 damage. Okay. See, Mewtwo is weak to dark Pokemon. Got it. Phytops is a successor to Naganadel from, what was it, Lost Thunder? Where it can accelerate a basic energy from the discard pile to itself. Okay. So let me get this straight. To do 280 damage, right? 280 damage. I need 3 energy, or 2 with the Rocket's energy on the active. And then I need to have 2 Phytops, 2 stage 1s on the bench that have not been picked off, not been destroyed, nothing in the meantime. That sounds like a lot of payoff for not a lot of damage. Ethan's Typhlosion does 280 damage just by putting 4 supporters in the discard pile. He's a stage 2, but attacks for 1 energy. Like, this is significantly easier to maintain and keep going. Okay, I'm rambling. I just don't like Mewtwo. I'm going to put Crobat in Rogue. Crobat is a very cool card where it evolves. It places damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon, and then it can pick itself up by discarding all cards. So I think this deck will either be Rogue or poorly performing. It's not bad. The card is phenomenal, but I think it's going to have to partner off. Maybe it partners off with a Zoroark. Maybe it partners off with a Dragapult. I've been seeing some Dragapult fun. I really want to try that. But the point is that Crobat is a support Pokemon in every sense of the word. It just does not hit hard enough, even with all the damage pings. You can play 4 Devos if you want, but I'm just saying, like, those bigger decks, it's not hitting hard enough and doesn't have that gear to hit harder. So how are you doing it? But that's just one guy's take. That's all this is. Okie dokie. This one's kind of funny. I'm gonna put this one Rogue though. So it has Adrenabrain, so if it has a dark energy attached, it has 230 hit points. Monkey Dory, so you run with Luminous Energy or Crispins, and then you accelerate energy to it, and you try to run a 1 prize board state, that with the Legacy Energy. I've seen some people play it. I've never really seen it do well, but I know it's made its way to stream a few times. Doing 170 again and again and again as a 1 prizer should get you there. I just don't think you'll see enough of it to be worried about it. Tier 2. Oh my god, this is Lugia V-Star with extra steps. Dear god, why? So Ho-Oh EX. It is an Ekin's Pokemon. It has the ability, once during your turn, you can accelerate 2 fire energy from your hand to it. So the Armarouges that have been sitting in my binder for the past 2 years are like, finally, it is my time to shine. Fire off. You can move fire energy from your bench to your active. Okay, so I was discussing this last night with someone, and they're like, oh, well, I'm sold on it. Okay, so you have to set up the Ho-Oh. You have to find the energy. You have to hope your Charcadets do not get picked off. Shaman is nice, but you want the bench spots. You usually don't play Shaman. And then you have to find a way to get your desired attacker in the active. There's a lot of steps going on there. So you could whiff the attacker, you could whiff the energy, you could whiff the Ho-Oh, maybe your Charcadets or Armarouges are prized, maybe your Charcadets got picked off, maybe you didn't get set them up till turn 2. The point is, there's a lot of moving pieces in this deck, and this is one of those decks that its issue is consistency. It's going to have all the power in the world because it's going to put the best attackers at the forefront, but it's consistency. This deck is going to struggle just to play the game. Enough. We're not going to ramble too much. Rogue. We're going to put Frostlass in Rogue. I don't see enough of it to be scared of it. If Raging Bull players are putting Petra and EX into their deck, which I think is hilarious, or people are putting in Turos or anything that really bounces you out of the active, even under an item lock, I don't think the item lock and the stranding really works. Maractus is losing its value by the day. And once you break their lock, their game is done. Arcaladon, we're going to put 1.5. Both variants. Poison is probably a little closer. What do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these decks pretty much function the same. They're just trying to manipulate the damage. Poison variant is probably a little bit better. We're going to put this one because this is probably like your straight Monkey Dory. I like this one. This is the one I'm going to be testing about 50 or 60 games in the next couple of days with. You just flip a coin. If heads, put damage on one of your opponent's Pokemon. If tails, put it on your active. It's a win-win situation if you're playing Monkey Dory. So it just fixes numbers Duraludon normally couldn't fix. Maybe you do away with your partners kind of thing. We shall see. This one is poison. It's going for the donk. After the donk, it's trying to metal defender you through the game. Terrabox, I'm putting you in tier 2. So this deck is overly convoluted. People play it and then complain when they brick. Like, I'm gonna hate on the deck. I think you're trying to do too many things in a 60 card list, and I love multiple game plans. This deck is just too greedy for what it wants to do. Is it bad? Yeah. Yeah, you know what? Until people revamp it, I'm gonna call it bad. You're doing too much. Most people aren't gonna get to play. Pilot is going to have to carry. It is not the deck, it is the pilot. The variance on it, even in best of 3, is just not worth the headache. Don't do it. Pick something else. You're going to burn yourself out. You're going to have a miserable time. And then you're going to sit there and say, why the hell did I pick this deck up? The hype is over. You're not Tord Reklev. You're not that guy. We're going to put Hydreigon in Rogue tier. So right now it's just hoping to feast on anything it can hit for 200 or 240 with the poison, or you're not getting Obsidian off with the new Shaman. For the first 2 weeks or so, Shaman's going to be everywhere. So you're going to be sitting in the Rogue tier, and this is one of your diehards, like, you're good, you're just not good enough. One that I really do like for this format, picking up steam, was Ancient Box with the neutralizing zone. So it can't knock out any of your one prize Pokemon with EXs. You just kind of have to win the stadium war. So maybe you play 3 stadiums, but you play some artisans. You really try to win that war, and then you drop it late and say, okay, can you deal with this? And sometimes they just can't, and they lose on the spot. I really like Flareon going into this format, and I don't know why, but I do. Just got so much. I know the tower is going to take it down. Play 4 Watchtower. Play 2 Culvers. You're never going to have to worry about that if you just find the outs. You find the stadium. The deck is going to find it. I think they're getting really greedy with their supporter counts, so you might want to humble yourself and bring that one back in. The Leafeon deals with these guys. Burning Charge deals with all your smaller Pokemon. Carnelian, you can play the Sylveon. I think I've seen people play Umbreon. Like, you could play an Eevee for all days of the week. That's what I'm trying to get at here, is you bump the stadium and then you're off and rolling. So play 4 stadiums. Play 5 stadiums if you have to. I don't think the deck's going anywhere. Charizard Pidgeot. So this is with Dusknoir. This is with anything else that it wants to do. Charizard is still a very good card. Raging Bolt's on the upswing, so then Charizard should come back. Play a couple Chi-Yu if you have to. It's just a very strong card. This one is entirely Charizard with the knockdown. This is more like a Charizard Terapagos. Again, they build some very janky, thin supporter lines. So if you don't bump the stadium, your deck is pretty much flat. But if you bump the stadium, then you're still a Charizard deck. Like, you're using the Wellspring Ogerpon if you have to. You're using the Lily's Clefairy if you want to deal with Charizard. I think this one, if you're going to play a Toolbox, use the Charizard. Charizard just gives you 3 energy off the bat, and you're not locked into a supporter. If you're going to Toolbox it off, Toolbox it with this. Sneak some Lily, sneak some, Wellspring, whatever you need. 1.5. I think it'll be hovering. It's not the worst deck, but it's definitely, better than that dumpster pile of a Terrabox. And this one is my own personal bias showing. Again, how many decks are going to play more than 2 copies of that stadium is the real question here. If they play more than 2, like they go quad and they just really want to shut you out, then you're going to feel like a tier 2 deck. But if they play 1, 2 tops, I'm not even kidding, play the 4 Area 0, and then you're 1 to 2 Colress or anything to bump it, or you will be able to find those stadiums with all the thinning that you do, and you're good to go. And you're still, at the end of the day, a 230 or 280 hit point with Brave Charm Pokemon that is hard to out. So you should be fine. You'll just have to wait and see how that stadium plays out. So this is my tier list. As you can see, there's only a handful of decks that are clear cut above the rest. You could even make the argument that these 2 here will probably bump to 1.5. Actually, you know what? Let's do that. Let's put them on top of 1. So 1.5 is a very wide open tier because it's meta dependent, right? Certain ones of these go up, some of them will go up, and then some of them will go down. Some of these decks go down because they're being hard countered, then there might be room for some of these decks to take advantage of the counters. If you enjoyed today's video, I appreciate you sticking around this long. Thanks for listening to this one man's ramblings. And until next time, guys, have fun. See you in the next video. Cheers.